Pushkin made the call. I'm just the new guy. Is that a heckler cock?
No! All right! Whoa!
Tell them to put their guns down, lay down on the floor with their hands behind their back. They'll do that, won't they? Seconds. 28 minus 9, 19.
Meet Robert McCall, a guy who does everything perfectly and always on time, which honestly should have been the first red flag that he used to kill people for a living. Turns out he's a former Special Services commando, but nobody around him has any clue about his past. As far as they know, he just works at Home Mart. He's also got a buddy named Ralphie, and Robert's been coaching him through a diet plan so he can qualify for a security guard job. When Robert hears Ralphie's burger crinkling in its wrapper, he shuts it down immediately, telling him flat out that if he wants this job, he's got to lose the weight, that his test is only a week away, and that Robert can't want it more than Ralphie does. Tough love, Liam Neeson style. Some kids at the store ask Robert what he used to do for work, so naturally he lies and tells them he used to be a background dancer, even breaking out a few moves to sell it. Never trust a man with rhythm and a mysterious past. That night Robert can't sleep. Dude's got insomnia, so he heads to a nearby restaurant to read the same book over and over. There he meets Terry, a young prostitute who's clocked him coming in night after night, and she jokes about whether he's finally caught his fish, yet referring to how long he's been stuck on the same page. The two hit it off and keep talking over multiple visits. At one point, one of her customers actually shows up to pick her up at the diner, which is somehow both awkward and extremely on brand for this movie. It's clear Terry hates the life she's living. One night, she's asleep in the restaurant sporting a fresh bruise on her cheek, and Robert shows up with a cake for her, because nothing says, "I see you," like baked goods. She assumes he won't want to sit with a prostitute, but he invites her over anyway, and she takes him up on it. They talk for a long stretch, and Terry gives him a recording of herself singing, since her real dream is to be a singer. They keep talking, then walk home together, and say a warm goodnight. Moments later, though, some men snatch her off the street and drive off. Turns out they're Russian mafia running a trafficking operation, and this was never just a coincidence. The next day, Robert can't stop thinking about it. He goes back to the restaurant that night, but no Terry. The day after that, the chef tells him she's in the ICU. Somebody beat her badly. Robert goes to the hospital and sees her lying there, injured with her friend Mandy nearby. But he just watches from a distance instead of going in, because apparently, even ex-commandos get shy. When Mandy comes out, he asks what happened, and she explains a man went after Terry. Terry fought back, and the man responsible is named Slavy, the same guy who forced her into that car. Slavy runs the whole trafficking ring and treats the girls like investments instead of people. Gross. Mandy reveals they bought Terry when she was still a kid, and that she desperately wants out. This wrecks Robert for the next few days. Finally, he walks into Slavy's club, the same scene the movie opened on, so we've officially caught up to minute 1, and tells Slavy he's there about a girl who got beaten badly. Slavy shrugs it off, still calling the girls investments. So cold. Robert offers him a huge stack of cash for Terry's freedom, and Slavy tells him that money only buys her for a month. Robert actually picks the money up and starts to walk away, hesitating at the door like he's debating whether to leave a bad Yelp review instead, then turns back around and kills absolutely everyone in the club, apparently timing the whole massacre down to the second because he's that guy.
You forget something?
16 seconds. 2 1,000.
Afterward, he calmly washes the blood off his hands and goes right back to his normal routine, like he just got done doing dishes. Meanwhile, the head of the Russian mafia, Pushkin, sends a guy named Teddy to take over Slavy's operation and figure out who killed him. Teddy checks the crime scene and realizes this was personal, a revenge kill. His guy Masters tells him the hard drive with the security footage is gone, so all they've got is that a waiter brought food up around 11:17 and found Slavy dead. Teddy orders his crew to grab footage from every camera in a 6-block radius and tells them to call a certain contact if they hit trouble. Very organized crime, very corporate. The next day, Teddy and Masters meet with Looney, head of a rival Irish gang, who denies having anything to do with Slavy's death. An argument breaks out, and Teddy just kills him too, because apparently that's his whole personality. He then leans on Mandy, trying to find out where Terry went, but she won't talk. That night, Pushkin calls Teddy from Russia to check in. Teddy admits he's still piecing it together, but that the kill felt spontaneous and was done by someone clearly skilled, not anyone they've dealt with before. Pushkin doesn't care who it is, just find him. So Teddy tortures Mandy until she cracks, and says a man came to the hospital asking about Terry, though she never got a name, and then he strangles her anyway. Yikes. Back to Robert. At work, he learns Ralphie quit, so he tracks him down at his mom's restaurant, where Ralphie explains there was a fire the night before, and his mother got hurt. Robert helps out around the place and asks how the fire started, but Ralphie dodges the question. That night, 2 dirty cops show up after hours, telling the mother it's time to pay up, promising there won't be more trouble as long as she keeps paying on schedule. Though they do at least warn her about the grease fire hazard. Very considerate extortionists. As they head to their car, Robert stops them with a flashlight and says he'd like to report a crime. One of them just tells him to call 911. When they try to intimidate him, Robert reveals he's got video of them taking the bribe. After some back and forth about why they should even give the money back, plus a little physical persuasion, they cave. The next day they return the cash to Ralphie's mom and everyone else they've been shaking down, and Ralphie gets his job back and lands the security guard position. Character arc complete. Elsewhere, a robber walks into Robert's store, threatens the cashier, and demands she open the register and hand over her ring. When she hesitates, he threatens her again, and Robert quietly tells her to just give it to him. De-escalation king. He follows the robber outside, memorizes his plate, then heads back in, grabs a hammer, and handles the rest off-screen, which is somehow scarier than if we'd seen it. Later that night, the cashier finds her ring back in her drawer, and Robert calmly wipes down the hammer and puts it away like he's just finished a chore. Meanwhile, Teddy finds footage of a man entering the club the night Slavy died who never left. That man is Robert, obviously. One night, Teddy shows up at Robert's house pretending to investigate a homicide from 2 weeks back. Robert plays dumb the whole time, even when Teddy shows him a photo of Mandy and tells him she died of a broken neck. Man's got a poker face for the ages. Before Teddy leaves, Robert asks how he even found him, given he paid cash with no reservation. Teddy just says he always finds who he's looking for. Very ominous. Once Teddy's gone, Robert realizes this guy's not actually cops and starts prepping, installing hidden cameras all around the house. The next day, a man posing as an electrician approaches Robert at a restaurant, making small talk before Robert pointing out that his hands don't look like a guy who actually works power lines. A subtle way of saying he knows backup's coming. Sure enough, armed men close in outside planning to leave no witnesses. Robert flees, takes one of them down, spots a police badge on him and gets away. Teddy and his crew later raid Robert's now empty house, and thanks to those hidden cameras, Robert gets to watch and listen in real time as they realize he's been watching them the entire time. Petty, but earned. Robert then visits an old friend, Susan, a CIA operative, and asks her to find out who this guy is. She's hesitant at first, wanting to know why he's asking, but eventually tells him about Pushkin, the head of a massive Russian mafia operation in the US, and explains Teddy used to be Russian secret police and now works privately for Pushkin, and that he won't stop until Robert and everyone he cares about is dead. She also drops the bomb that Masters and the men who came after Robert are actually dirty cops. The next day, Robert traps Masters near his home using a car alarm and smoke, telling him he'll let him go only if he helps. Masters refuses a few times before caving and leading Robert to Pushkin's meat processing factory, where there's a hidden vault full of the mafia's black money. When the man running the place refuses to cooperate and pulls a gun, Robert calmly points out that his men are clearly loyal and will do exactly what he tells them, including dropping their weapons and lying on the floor, which they promptly do. After the standoff, Robert hands out the cash to the factory workers, because apparently he's also into wealth redistribution, and tells Masters to call it in as an emergency officer-involved situation. He reminds Masters that after 20-plus years on the force, he's surely already got an exit plan in mind, and tells him to finally do the right thing instead of disrespecting his badge. Masters agrees, cops show up to find the gang tied up next to the money, and Masters is arrested with a note in his pocket that just says, "Follow the money." Subtle. Elsewhere, Robert pulls a flash drive and documents out of a bank safe deposit box. He confronts Teddy mid-dinner at a restaurant, casually mentioning that Teddy's dinner partner isn't coming back from the bathroom because Robert already killed him. Appetizer of doom. Robert gives Teddy one last chance to walk away from Pushkin's whole operation, warning he'll kill them both otherwise, then leaves. Back home, he goes through the flash drive, which is packed with trafficking records and Pushkin's finances. He calls an FBI agent named Mosley, mentions he heard the agent recently found some money, and tells him, anonymously, as a concerned citizen, to check his personal email and maybe sit down first. He also learns about a scheduled oil shipment and plants explosives there, because subtlety was never really his thing. Pushkin, now aware of the leak, orders Teddy to find and kill whoever's responsible, and Teddy takes the call while holding a photo of Ralphie, which is not a good sign for Ralphie. Sure enough, Teddy takes Ralphie and the rest of Robert's co-workers hostage inside Home Mart and calls Robert, putting Ralphie on the phone so he can hear he's been grabbed, telling him to come to the store if he wants to save them. Robert heads over but reroutes his phone so Teddy can't track him properly, and when the bus Teddy's watching shows up without Robert on it, Teddy realizes he's been played and has a hostage killed out of spite, before dragging Ralphie into a back room. When Robert finally arrives, the employees are confused and terrified, asking who these armed men even are, so Robert tells everyone to clear out through the back service doors immediately and not leave anyone behind. Teddy greets him almost warmly, like their old pen pals finally meeting, saying he's been waiting to meet him, and Robert says the same. Amid all the chaos, Ralphie calls out for help. What follows is a full-blown confrontation, complete with an explosion, Robert engineers, and the store's sprinklers, flooding the whole place. As Teddy heads for the power room to kill Ralphie, Robert intercepts him with a nail gun, hits him several times, and finishes the job with a shot to the neck, before just calmly walking off like he's leaving a mildly disappointing Yelp review. 3 days later, in Moscow, Robert confronts Pushkin himself, while the man is literally taking a bath, unarmed and wrapped in a towel, the least dignified way to meet your killer. Pushkin asks who he is and what he wants, and Robert tells him plainly he wants the head of the snake, meaning Pushkin. Pushkin realizes he's about to die and asks what Robert even gets out of it. Robert just says he wants peace. Pushkin offers to buy that peace and starts naming a price, but by the time he finishes his sentence, Robert's already gone. When Pushkin flips the lights back on, it turns out every single one of his men along the path Robert walked is already dead. Efficient guy. Sometime later, Robert's back to his normal life, and Terry stops by to tell him she's leaving town for a good job. She mentions that when the hospital handed back her belongings, there was an envelope inside with a big pile of cash and a ticket out of the city, quietly arranged by Robert, though he never admits to it. Terry thanks him, kisses him goodbye, and heads off to start over. The movie wraps with Robert settling back into his quiet, purposeful life, launching a website where anyone can ask for help, and doing what he can to make things better for people one problem at a time. Moral of the story: never underestimate the quiet guy at Home Mart who reads the same book every night.